Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. There's even a brand new Brigadier General tier where you can get a shout out on a Commander's Quarters episode that's dedicated to you. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So, really quick, if you clicked on this episode but have not seen this previous episode on the Humans vs. Zombies deck tech, make sure you check that one out first. This is the Break the Bank version of that deck tech, so I'm going to be talking about the upgrades to that deck, and if you haven't seen that deck tech yet, you might be a little confused. Regardless, both that episode and this one come to you courtesy of Carlos, who's been supporting this channel as a Golden Big Tier patron. I truly couldn't do this without the support from amazing patrons like Carlos, so again, Carlos, thank you so much. And just a reminder for the personalized deck tech, Carlos chose a 5-color Humans and Zombies deck built around Kenny. Kenrith the Return King is a 5-color human noble that can help us out in a lot of ways, and again, I covered those ways in the last episode, so if you haven't seen that one, check it out. But if you have seen that episode, then let's jump into the upgrades that we're going to be adding into this deck. And some of the cards that Carlos wanted to highlight in this deck fit in the Break the Bank version of it, and we're going to start off with Rick, Steadfast Leader. Rick is a 3/4 human soldier that has, when it enters the battlefield, choose 2 abilities from among First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink. Humans you control have each of the chosen abilities. And as long as you've got 4 or more humans you control get +2/+2. Again, with this deck, we're going to be able to make a ton of humans in a lot of different ways, so meeting that requirement is not going to be too hard. And being able to give all of our humans 2 of those abilities can be incredibly impactful. First Strike can help them survive combat, Vigilance can help them stay back to block, and obviously Lifelink can gain us a ton of life. So though Rick is quite expensive, it can really help our humans out. Next up, we've got Michonne, Ruthless Survivor, a 3/3 human warrior, and when it enters the battlefield, we create 2 Walker tokens, which are 2/2 zombies. As long as Michonne is equipped, she must be blocked if able. And whenever Michonne and at least 2 zombies attack, she gains indestructible until end of turn. So Michonne can help us create some tokens, and obviously if we attack with those tokens or other zombies, at least 2 of them that is, Michonne is going to be indestructible. And keep in mind that because this is an ETB, if Michonne is ever dealt with, well, we can just get her back with Kenny and get even more zombie tokens. And speaking of zombie tokens, next up there's Daryl, Hunter of Walkers. Daryl has, at the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent creates 3 Walker tokens, and tap, Daryl deals 2 damage to target creature, and on top of that, whenever a zombie an opponent controls dies, draw a card. So we can actually utilize Daryl in somewhat of a political way. We can make a deal with a certain opponent saying, hey, I'll give you some zombie tokens if you maybe never use them to attack me or block me. You can use them against my opponents, but not me. And on top of that, probably add in the requirement that you can also ping those zombies with Daryl to draw cards. So again, you can utilize this card in a political way, and it's also a card draw engine. And speaking of a card draw engine, let's talk about Glenn, the Voice of Calm. Glenn is a 1/3 human advisor with Skulk, which basically means that this creature can't be blocked by creatures that have a greater power than it. So yeah, at 1 power, there's not going to be a lot of creatures out there that can block this. And on top of that, whenever Glenn deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to his power. So anthems for Glenn kind of help and hurt in a way. If we have anthems on the battlefield that pump our creatures, well, Glenn is going to be easier to block because Skulk isn't going to be as effective. That being said, when Glenn does get through, we're going to benefit from that power and draw more cards. So there is that kind of give and take with this card, but regardless, even just at 1 power drawing us 1 card every turn, that still can be incredibly effective. And of course, if Glenn does have more power, there are other ways to help get Glenn through. Next up, there's Negan the Cold-Blooded, which has, when it enters the battlefield, you and target opponent each secretly choose a creature that player controls, then those choices are revealed and that player sacrifices those creatures. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a creature, you create a treasure token. So at the very least, with this coming into play, an opponent is going to be sacrificing 1 creature and you're going to get 1 treasure. But if each of you choose a different creature, then that player is going to sacrifice 2. And again, as I mentioned with Michonne, Kenny can really help us use and abuse this ETB. But now let's move on to some other types of cards that we're going to be adding into this deck, starting with Open the Graves. It's an enchantment that says whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. With this in play, whenever any of our creatures die, we're getting an extra benefit out of them, and again, we're getting a zombie token, and we've got a lot of ways to make those zombie tokens more powerful. Speaking of which, one of those ways is with Liliana's Mastery. It's an enchantment that says, zombies you control get +1/+1, and when Liliana's Mastery enters the battlefield, create 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. So even with this just coming in play on its own, we're getting 6 total power between 2 creatures. But of course, as I mentioned before, we've got plenty of ways to make a lot of zombies with this deck, so this can pump up every single one of them and make them even deadlier. And speaking of ways to make a ton of zombies all at once, let's talk about Necromancer's Covenant. When it enters the battlefield, we exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard, then we put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield for each card exiled this way, and on top of that, zombies we control have lifelink. So even just giving our zombies lifelink can be an incredibly impactful thing to help us pad our life total and to stay alive. But yeah, when this comes into play, we can demolish an opponent's graveyard and make a ton of zombie tokens. This can be especially effective and can really hose graveyard-centric decks or reanimator decks. Yeah, they're not going to have a good time with this. Regardless, the last card that fit into our Break the Bank budget is Call to the Grave. It's an enchantment for 4 and a black that says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-zombie creature. And then at the beginning of the end step, if no creatures are on the battlefield, we sacrifice Call to the Grave. So our opponents are going to be losing out on their creatures, and we might lose out on some of ours too, but again, like I mentioned before, Kenny can help us get them back. So this can be especially effective when we have a powerful ETB on one of our creatures, and we just, get it right back, and our opponents are going to be down more creatures. Regardless, there are 2 cards that I do want to mention that Carlos highlighted as potential ones to include in the deck that didn't quite fit in the budget, but are fantastic if you're willing to stretch the budget just a little bit further. And the first of those is going to be Rooftop Storm. Rooftop Storm is an enchantment that says you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for zombie spells you cast. So this can save you a lot of mana throughout the game, casting your zombie spells for free. And finally, there's Endless Ranks of the Dead, which says at the beginning of your upkeep, put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is half the number of zombies you control, rounded down. Again, this deck can generate a ton of zombies, and this essentially just keeps getting us more, and then even more, and then even more, and yeah, we're easily going to flood the board with this in play. Regardless, since we upgraded this deck with some cards, we've got to take some cards out too, so let's quickly go through those. First up, let's take out Doom Dissenter, Newscraft Mob, and Dreadhorde Invasion. Like all the other cards I'm going to be mentioning, it's not that these cards aren't effective in this deck, it's just that with our upgrades, we've got more effective cards. So we're also going to be taking out Zombie Infestation, Ulvenwall Mysteries, and Precognitive Perception. And finally, we're going to be taking out Hieroglyphic Illumination, Depart the Realm, and Slash the Ranks. But now that we talked about the cards that we've added into the deck and taken out of the deck, let's talk about the final price. The final price of this Break the Bank comes to $98.58, which is just under our $100 budget. Now, keep in mind that this estimated cost doesn't include heavily played or damaged cards, so make sure you're considering that as well. This price also includes the cost of basic lands at 10 cents a piece, so there can be some savings there too. But also keep in mind that this price does not include shipping, so depending on where you're at, that can definitely vary. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.